Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories.
The OP of the first story talked about how his wife of 32 years unknowingly started an emotional affair with a coworker, and he details how he started feeling that he was losing his wife to this other man, and what he did to nip an affair in the making before it fully destroyed their loving marriage. Now for the original post. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years. My wife and I have been married a long time. Married at 19 years old, still married and in love at 51 years old. Raised 3 great kids to adulthood in that time. Great life together. Sometimes, however, I think someone can meet another person they just click with in an unbelievable way. I think this happened to my wife. We had moved 1,000 miles away from our hometown for my work. She got a job at a hospital in the new town and hated the job. For the first 3 years there, she absolutely hated going to work every day. She would cry regularly. I was there for her in any way she needed. I helped her with her resume because she wanted to find something else. I gave her a shoulder to cry on. I listened and sympathized when she vented. I love her with all my heart and will always be there for her. After about 3 years, they hired a new guy at her work. He did the same kind of work she did but for another department in the hospital. He's a really nice guy. I've met him multiple times. Anyway, he was closer to all the BS they had to put up with at their jobs. He understood better than I could. He spent more time with her than I could. If you're employed full-time, you spend more time with your job and coworkers than you do your family. That's a fact. He was instrumental in helping her turn the job around. He understood exactly what they were going through better than I ever could. Misery loves company, and now my wife had company. They started working as a team and the job got better for both of them. I could see them growing closer professionally, but then it transcended work and they started growing closer as friends outside work, and we all know where that can lead. I started to become really concerned about this, but never wanted to look like an insecure, jealous husband, so I let it go. They texted regularly and hung out together at work all day long. They were the only 2 people in their office. They shared an office, so they chit-chatted all day. I could see their relationship growing every day right in front of my eyes. My wife and I are as close as any 2 human beings can be. But I saw that this relationship at work was starting to impact our me and you against the world closeness. There was a third person entering into my marriage, even though it was currently still at the very early innocent stages. I started to bring up that I was concerned about it, and that I didn't like how she was acting around another man. That would get shut down on me. Don't be silly, we're just friends and coworkers. He has a fiancé, or he's the one person that has made this job bearable, and you want me to ignore him. It was just an awful situation all the way around. I really didn't know what to do. My own field is very specialized and lucrative. As luck would have it, or God stepped in, or karma, or fate, or the universe, whatever is your bag, I get a call from a headhunter. A place in our hometown was looking for a new C-level executive to run an entire division. Huge job, huge salary, in our hometown. I really loved what I was doing in my current job, and now my wife loved her job and her coworker, and we loved the new town. Usually that would lead me to say thanks but no thanks to the headhunter. This time, however, I saw it as an opportunity to make a positive impact on my marriage. My wife couldn't argue the opportunity. It was huge and almost doubled my salary. We have family and friends back in our hometown. I could tell she was absolutely heartbroken over the potential of losing this new best friend, that I know in my heart they were both developing real feelings for each other. I know in my heart that my wife loved this man. I know that she still loved me, and I don't think she would have ever cheated or left me for this guy, but I know I was slowly losing her to him. She didn't act on anything, but there was something growing between them. I could tell when we all got together that his fiancé hated my wife, even though they had never met before, so that told me that she could sense a threat to her relationship too, and didn't like it one bit. So I applied, interviewed, got offered, and accepted this job. In my heart I'd say only 10% of it was because of the opportunity, and 90% of it was to get my wife away from her job and that person. We moved. She hated leaving that job and her buddy. I could tell she was sad and depressed over the loss of this other man in her life. I knew in my heart they were having a full-on emotional affair, even if both of them were not aware of it. A lot of times that is how these things start. One or both parties aren't even consciously aware of what's happening, until it's too late and they've ruined some lives. I know this might not be an ideal way to handle such a situation, but it worked. My wife found a new job back home. We're back in our old social circle of friends and family. For a few months they would message on Facebook occasionally. Nothing bad, she'd always show me, but they were maintaining their connection. But that stopped months ago. Out of sight, out of mind. They don't communicate at all anymore. He has since married his fiancée and my wife and I are very happy back home again. I could literally feel the change, and one day while we were sitting on the couch watching Fixer Upper, her head was on my shoulder. She looked up and said, "I love you so much. I know for a while in the previous city, that I wasn't being the best partner, but I was so miserable in my job and part of me blamed you for moving me there. Coworker was really like a wartime buddy, where you share the same horrible experience with, so you start bonding with them, but in retrospect, I think it was wrong and I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry if it hurt your feelings. I'll never do anything like that again. You're the love of my life. All is well that ends well. I love my wife with all my heart. She loves me. We'll be together until one of us dies of old age. There's a good chance I would have taken this job anyway because it's such a good opportunity, but at that time, that's not why I took it. I took it because I had a threat to my marriage, the thing that is most important to me in life, and I saw an opportunity to remove the threat from the equation. I took that opportunity and won't ever apologize for why I did it. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Wow, I really applaud your maturity and how you handled this. Thank you. It was the scariest time in my life, far scarier than when I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. My marriage is the most important thing in the world to me. The thought of how far this threat could go was keeping me up at night and terrifying me. I can appreciate that not everybody would have an opportunity fall in their lap to correct a situation like this, but I would still warn people who value their marriage, if you see a threat developing, do whatever you have to do to nip it in the bud. I'm glad that it worked out for you. It was big of your wife to admit her part in it. Sadly, I think this happens too easily. It's super easy to be charming and fun with someone that you don't have to handle life's true challenges with. People lose sight of that. Literally just went through a scenario like this, but didn't get that convenient opportunity you did. We weren't legally married, but mentally we were. 8 years together and could have gone 80 without making it legal. It didn't matter to us. Just like you, I saw it coming, talked to her about it, and she always downplayed it, kept my cool, and tried to be mature about it. She left me for him 3 weeks ago. I'm so happy that it worked out for you and your wife. Timing is everything. This needs to be seen more. If you feel threatened and jealousy was never an issue with you before, there's usually a reason for it. Don't let them downplay it, because it can only end badly. I agree in not letting them downplay it. If it's a concern, then they could at least respect why you feel that way and acknowledge it. I get the part of not wanting to come across as jealous, but we all get jealous on some level. It's only natural. In the end, people are going to do what people want to do. I lean on the side that says, if a person truly cares about you and loves you the way they say they do, then they would not go and explore romantic emotions with someone else while still being with you. If that is what they want, then that's within their right. The problem arises when they do it while the other person believes they are still in a committed relationship. This is an awful display of character in my opinion. It's okay to have friends and other support systems outside of your own marriage. I believe it's healthy. It's good to have other perspectives and other support circles. But it seems like OP's wife was exploring emotional and possible romantic replacement of the OP while telling him it's nothing to worry about. What's to say she won't resort to this again? I don't think OP should have let it slide as easily. Had he not moved away, she most likely would have continued it. This is a red flag in my opinion. Like I said, people are going to do what they want to do. Her actions are concerning for their marriage and it allows for untrust in the relationship. And now for the update. Far too many posts to respond to. My wife and I are reading through this thread together. We do everything together. We're a team. She wanted me to add for anyone that might be in her shoes, that sometimes you really don't see things like this coming. But if you're not vigilant, you may end up ruining the best part of your life. She's as happy as I am how everything turned out. We're not really religious people, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that this situation didn't make me question if there isn't someone out there watching out for us, and to be aware when God, the universe, whatever, presents a solution to a problem. Don't ignore it. I do know that I was extremely lucky that this opportunity came along. I really didn't know what to do. I felt so helpless. That doesn't happen for a lot of people and my heart breaks for them. I'll never stop being thankful of how lucky I was. There were a lot of assumptions made in this thread about me, about my wife, and about our whole lives together. Some good, some bad, some downright nasty. I understand that you're only getting a tiny slice of our lives. I assure you we're happily married 32 years now, and will be married till death do us part, hopefully even beyond that. Would either of us do whatever is necessary to protect our marriage from any and all negative influences in this world? You betcha. My wife tells this story more than I do. She has told it to our adult children as a cautionary tale. She has said if the situation was reversed, she'd do the exact same thing. I wouldn't be angry if she did. I've had several close female friends over the decades we've been married. When my wife picks up a vibe that one of these women may have desired more than friendship, she voiced her concerns. A couple times that was met with, "Don't be silly, we're just friends." In retrospect, my wife was not being silly. Those friendships could have been a threat to the marriage, but we'll never know because we nipped them in the bud and put our marriage first. All I can wish anyone here is to find the same kind of happiness my wife and I share. It's wonderful, and I hope if you don't already have it, that you find it. Peace. Now for the last story. Update: I, 24 male, am worried that my sister, 26 female, has feelings for my girlfriend, 24 female. Original post: my girlfriend and I have been together for 2.5 years, and we have a really great relationship. My sister and I have always been close, so I was really happy when she and girlfriend met and hit it off right away. They get along insanely well, and it's awesome, or was awesome. It might be important to point out that they are both bi. Everything was normal up until about 3 months ago. They started hanging out together more often than usual, taking day trips and having sleepovers, and going for dinner, etc. I didn't care about it initially. I thought it was cool that the two most important women in my life were such good friends. Then my sister Amy started making comments saying that if we ever broke up, she's first in line to date my girlfriend Emily. She calls Emily her wifey and follows her around like a lost puppy. Amy says that Emily is our girlfriend, and I swear she gets jealous when I interact with her. Then last week, I got home from work, and as I walked through the door, I could hear them chatting in the living room. This isn't out of the ordinary. It was what I heard that really bothered me. My sister said, "Holy heck, I have such a crush on you," in the most lustful voice I've ever heard. I really hated typing that. Emily laughed and their conversation moved on, but it really didn't sit well with me, so later on I asked Emily what they were talking about. I think context is important. She told me that they went shopping earlier in the day and were doing a little fashion show for each other. She said that those kinds of comments are normal between girlfriends, and it's nothing to worry about. It made sense to me, and I trust Emily. I decided to talk to Amy. I asked how their shopping spree went and so on, and then gently asked her what the crush comment was about. She got very defensive and accused me of being jealous of her relationship with Emily, then told me to grow the heck up. I'm not worried about Emily doing anything behind my back to betray me, and I never have. There's just something about the way my sister is acting that irks me, and I don't know how to approach this without blowing up any of our relationships. Now for the advice before reading the update. Okay, well, be prepared, because no matter what, you are gonna hurt some feelings. There is no gentle way. She calls Emily her wifey and follows her around like a lost puppy. Amy says that Emily is our girlfriend, and I swear she gets jealous when I interact with her. Talk to your girlfriend about it, and say your sister is jealous. Say your sister sees her as our girlfriend and that you are not okay with that. Talk about less hanging out with your sister, and do not back down, and see what happens. Basically, tell her what you wrote in this post. To your sister, say that you don't like it and be stern. Tell her to only come over if you are around. Wish you the best. This situation is crazy. If either one of them does not accept your boundaries, it is time to break off with one of them. I agree. Doesn't matter that it's your sister, your girlfriend is flirting with her and not maintaining platonic boundaries. Maybe sis feels like a safe flirt, but that doesn't matter. And no, girls don't say that to each other unless they are interested. Tell your girlfriend how uncomfortable you are, and if she is unwilling to change her behavior with your own sister, then she doesn't care about your feelings enough to make it work anyway. Why am I having flashbacks to that one post on AITA about a girl being absolutely mad her boyfriend and her twin brother were actually together all the time, and used her as a shield by the boyfriend dating her for years and not telling her? I have a bad feeling, OP. I remember that story. That poor girl dated the guy for like 7 or 9 years before finding out the truth. Imagine that. Broke my heart to read that. And they lived together and had talked about marriage and kids more than once. It was just plain cruel. There's a special place in hell for cruel guys like her brother and cheater boyfriend. And now for the update. There have been some developments. When I got home from work yesterday evening, I found the two of them on the couch in the living room watching a movie. I decided that I should just get it over with, so I sat down in the seat across from them and said that the three of us needed to have a talk. I basically just asked them if there was something going on between them, and mentioned how much extra time they've been spending together, and acting almost like they're dating. My sister immediately started sobbing, and Emily just looked really sad. Amy couldn't speak through her tears, so Emily filled me in. Turns out Amy has been going through a really bad breakup, and not taking it well. Amy's boyfriend cheated on her with multiple women and gave her an STD. I guess it ended in a big blowout and he trashed her place and threw her around. 3 months ago, Emily noticed that something was wrong and asked her what was up while they were out for lunch. Amy couldn't hold back and spilled all that happened to Emily, and then begged her not to tell me anything until she decided what she wanted to do. Emily started staying over at her place for a few reasons, helping her fix up her home, support, etc. Then Amy found out that she's pregnant with this asshole's baby and her mental health plummeted. Their extra hangouts were mostly to do with preparing for this new baby, pregnancy, including the fashion show which was maternity wear, for both of them. What I was perceiving as jealousy from Amy was actually a longing or envy of the solid relationship that Emily and I have, not an actual crush on Emily. The crush comment and wifey nickname were literally just girly comments in their words. Amy was reactive to my questioning because she was so deeply betrayed by this guy, and being accused of doing that was very hurtful. I didn't even know that Amy was dating anybody. Seems that the guy has left the province and Amy doesn't want to pursue anything legally. She just wants to move on and be happy. They are 6 weeks apart and were planning on telling me about the matching pregnancies this coming weekend. So in short, Amy and Emily are best friends. I'm going to be an uncle and then a father, and I get Brother of the Year award for not noticing that anything was going on with her. You have no reason to blame yourself. She didn't tell you she had a boyfriend, so how could you know she was being mistreated? Especially since she was spending so much time with Emily. You didn't notice because there was no way you could have known it was happening, and you handled everything exactly as you should have. You stayed calm, talked with them and listened. You didn't blow up at them. You didn't throw accusations. You listened and talked. Good job, and congrats on becoming a dad and an uncle. Also, you might want to hire a PI to hunt down the boyfriend. Even if she doesn't want to press charges, he should definitely be forced to pay child support. I agree that he handled how he talked to them correctly, but he should feel bad for not noticing his sister's apparent.
Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories.
In the first story, we get a rare glimpse into the mind of the cheater. And this guy thought that what he did wasn't that bad, because he stopped halfway and didn't finish, because the girl he's cheating on his wife with wasn't good in bed. Then tried to weasel his way out of taking responsibility for what he did. Now let's see how this story unfolds. Original post: my wife and I have a great relationship. I can't say I have any real complaints. We have been together for 5 years, married for 2 of those, and up until now, I would have said I would never stray. I was away for work last week, and while I was in the hotel, a young woman, 21 female, sat next to me and began to flirt with me. I was extremely flattered by the attention. I have to admit it was a real ego boost to be flirted with by someone so young, as I've started to get that middle-aged dad bod and have been feeling like I'm losing my looks a bit. After a bit of talking, the woman invited herself back up to my hotel room, where we started doing it. For me, it was all about the thrill of being desired by someone other than my wife, especially by a very young woman. I was slightly drunk, and I figured I'll probably never get the opportunity to sleep with a 21-year-old again. But the thrill wore off very quickly as I realized that I wasn't enjoying myself. This girl was not good at all. She basically just laid there and starfished. Sometimes she would pull herself into what she thought was a sexy pose, but that was it. She didn't seem interested in me at all. She seemed more interested in herself and how sexy she thought she was. Intimacy with my wife has always been amazing. When I'm with my wife, she's all over me, talking to me and telling me how hot I am, grabbing me, touching me, and so on. I feel like the hottest guy in the world when I'm with my wife. With this girl, I felt like I could leave the room and she might not even notice, let alone care. She seemed like she just wanted the ego boost of a guy finding her attractive. I couldn't stay on, and stopped about 10 minutes into it and asked her to leave, which she did. I didn't finish, I just took a shower and then called my wife to hear her voice. Now I'm back home, and so far, I haven't told my wife about any of it. There's a guilty part of me that says I should, because she deserves to know. But another part of me says, why should I torpedo our happy marriage and cause her pain for something that I didn't even enjoy and will never do again? All it did was prove to me that I want my wife more than anyone else. I want to do the right thing, but I genuinely don't know what the right thing to do is here. I know that I will never ever stray again. Should I tell her or keep it to myself? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I, 40 male, started to cheat on my wife, 38 female, but stopped halfway through. You didn't start to cheat, you cheated. Hard stop. You worded it this way to make yourself not sound bad. Let me say it again. You cheated. Don't forget that you said you didn't enjoy it because you felt she wasn't that into it. Would you have felt bad and still stopped when you thought she was great? Again, you cheated. Okay then, yes, I cheated. I do take responsibility for that. I realize I've messed up. If she'd been great, then I don't know. The fact that she was so bad brought me back to reality. But I think even if she had been great, I would still have realized that I ultimately just want my wife. Then take actual responsibility and come clean to your wife. Posting anonymously on the internet to strangers isn't taking responsibility. You complain about her ego boost making her think she didn't have to do anything. This whole thing was ego boost for you. You are no different, but much more pathetic. It sounds like you only regret doing it with this other woman because she was bad in bed. If this 21-year-old was incredible and better than your wife, would you have stopped in the middle? Exactly. And also kinda blaming her for doing it for the sole reason to get her ego boosted. OP's self-awareness is below zero. And now for the update. I really took a beating here when I made my first post, so maybe some of you will be happy to read this update. Maybe not. I was still not sure whether to tell my wife what happened or not after making the post. This is not because I'm selfish like some of you said, but because I was struggling to find the logic in telling her something that would hurt her when she didn't need to know, because it was never going to happen again. But I did also take on board what others said about how if it was them, they would want to know, and to some point I agreed with them about that. It didn't end up mattering because my wife realized something was up a few days after I got back from my work trip. She brought up how I'd been very quiet and seemed off ever since getting back, and she looked and sounded so worried about me that I decided in the moment to tell her. I didn't want us to have any secrets from each other, so I told her everything. She didn't believe me at first. She believed I would start to sleep with the other woman, but not that I had stopped or that it was bad. I showed her the post I made so she could see I wasn't just spinning her a flattering story to try and get off the hook. She started to cry while reading it, and then said the sentence that has been going round and round my head 24/7 since then. I loved you so much. Loved, past tense. I asked if she could really just fall out of love so quickly, and she said yes, and in the space of a few minutes, I had gone from the love of her life and the man she wanted to grow old with, to just another sad man having a midlife crisis. We talked for most of the night, but she wouldn't budge. She turned down my offer of marriage counseling or counseling for just myself. I suggested we take a short week's break so she can think about things, but her mind is made up. We are filing for divorce, and in the meantime, I am sleeping in our spare room so she can remain in our marital bed. This is not how I wanted any of this to go. She is without a doubt the woman I love, and the woman I will always love, and if I could go back in time, I would lock myself in my hotel room for that entire work trip and only come out for the conference. I hold hope that she might one day change her mind all the same. Our connection is too strong to be destroyed by 30 minutes of poor decision making. Did you really just ask her how she could fall out of love so quickly? My dude, you cheated on her. Where was your love for her in that moment? Why is it always the cheaters that have the audacity to accuse the victim of giving up? It was reading. I didn't want to hurt her and she didn't need to know. That did it for me. She didn't even really fall out of love. She just found out the man she was in love with didn't exist. Good for her. She deserves better. This woman is a rock star. Entirely too many people take back unfaithful partners and accept awful, selfish behavior. I'm proud of her for putting her foot down and refusing to budge on a boundary. Edit, OP, this is a situation entirely of your own making, and the fact that you seem incapable of properly taking accountability for your deliberate, conscious, bad decisions is just further proof that she's making the right move here. Awful behavior can and does sever relationships. If your connection meant so little to you that you could cheat in the first place, why are you surprised that it's not strong enough to keep her from leaving you? Good for your soon-to-be ex-wife. She has a shiny backbone. I think she will do wonderfully without a cheating husband like OP. Our connection is too strong to be destroyed by 30 minutes of poor decision-making. If the connection is that strong, OP wouldn't have slept with another woman. What a funny way to try and displace blame again. Blame yourself. You're the maker of the decision here, not some 4 and 30 minutes of poor decision. It's you. You are to blame for the whole thing. Exactly. Your connection was destroyed by your poor decision-making, and not just 35 minutes of it. Your poor decision-making started when you didn't immediately shut down this other woman's advances, OP. You decided that your supposedly happy marriage and strong connection was worth less than you betting a 21-year-old. Truly shameful that you are shifting the blame onto your wife. I congratulate her for having enough respect for herself to throw you to the curb. The mental gymnastics is insane. Now for the last story. Update, my husband and Kelsey had more than a little sister relationship. For context, I am 34 and my husband is 37. He has a brother Brad who is 25. Brad dated Kelsey 24 for 10 years. They began dating when they were freshmen in high school. Their first date was actually my wedding. They were engaged for 2 years before Kelsey found out that Brad had cheated on her multiple times the year before, and was still in contact and sending lewd texts to the woman he cheated on her with. This all came out about 4 weeks ago. The entire family was devastated and furious with Brad, who told Kelsey she could have the apartment and moved in with a friend over an hour and a half away. I think he just wanted to be far away from everything. It was weird because Kelsey was a part of the family for so long it was hard to just turn that off. And obviously we didn't, as she's going through a really traumatic time and needs support. Even so, I think it does reach a point where the family has to separate from her, since the only connecting thing Kelsey and Brad's relationship is now gone. My husband, however, seems to think that since he's regarded Kelsey as a little sister for so long, she should be treated as such. I come home multiple times a week to her over the house. When I ask my husband about it, he says he'll text her and ask her how she's feeling. And if she says she's feeling down, he'll invite her over to cheer her up. A few nights ago she was over, and while I was putting the kids to bed, my husband offered her a drink and they began drinking downstairs at the bar in our den. I had a medical procedure the next morning, nothing that was a big deal, but something I was supposed to be up and out early for. I didn't need my husband to come with me or anything, but I had mentioned that I would have liked if he would. He ended up offering the guest room to Kelsey, who was up and out early, and then slept in until an hour after I had come home. He has TikTok and just follows her, and a few other big accounts, but she's the only one he follows personally. The one thing I thought he did that I thought way overstepped, and what prompted me to have a conversation with him, is that the family is going on a 2-week vacation to Belize. The house is owned by my in-laws, so we go there often, and Kelsey has come many times. My husband invited her to come to this trip as well, which I think is odd since she is no longer dating Brad, who isn't coming on the vacation. When I had the conversation with my husband about how I thought he was crossing some boundaries with Kelsey, he got very defensive and said I was being heartless for wanting to just write Kelsey off. I tried to explain to him that I wasn't trying to write her off, but since she no longer had ties to the family, why would she come? If she began dating someone tomorrow, would we let her bring her new partner? My husband and I have two very opposing standpoints here, and I'm trying to come up with a way to compromise. Edit, in no way do I mean cut her off. I think our family should show her we support her and are here for her. However, I think there are boundaries being crossed, drinking together at night causing him to miss my procedure, inviting her to vacation. Also, to everyone who seems to have an issue with me thinking she will need to be distanced from the family, how do you think my brother-in-law and any other future partners of his will feel about her joining in on family vacations? Again, I think she is a lovely girl and I will enjoy remaining on friendly terms with her. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, there's room for compromise. No one needs to boot Kelsey out of the family that she has been a part of for 10 years. However, your husband does need to make you and the kids a priority. So, there's no reason for Kelsey not to be included in things. But when you tell your husband you need him to be available to you for things like your medical procedure, then he needs to be there. He's giving too much personal emotional support, having her over constantly without asking his wife, prioritizing hanging with her over his family. Like yes, she is going through a hard time, but has he considered that maybe Kelsey will eventually want or need distance from this family if Brad is going to be staying in contact? Making themselves her primary source of emotional support instead of her own friends or family is dangerous. Now she is trapped near Brad when she should be using this opportunity to find new things. What are they going to do when she dates and maybe marries someone else? Are they going to forever assert they are family? Are they willing to eventually have to pick between Kelsey and Brad? Kelsey deserves better than a family that is strongly split between her and someone who cheated on her. Family support is fine, texts and being in her corner is fine, but she's not his little sister, and this incident seems to have increased husband's relationship with Kelsey. It should remain the same amount of support as it was, no more home visits, but coming along on family vacation and group meals sounds fine to me. This is the correct approach in my opinion. I don't understand all the people saying that it's inappropriate or uncomfortable that he spends a lot of time with her. He's known her since she was 14. She dated his brother for 10 years. I completely get where he's coming from saying she's like a sister. He watched her grow up. So yeah, she's part of the family. If OP and her husband got divorced tomorrow, his family would be well within their rights to still want her around, because she is family. Aside from some priority shifting, I don't see the issue here. I've typed and deleted so many times, I personally would feel uncomfortable. Was your husband this involved with her life before she and Brad broke up? Did they hang out at your house often? Staying up late drinking together just sounds really weird to me. I don't know what specific line it crosses, but I don't like it. How many people are going on this family vacation? Anyone else close to her age? 10 years is a long-term relationship, but it's not that long and they didn't have children together. So, I just don't see why she would still be considered part of the family. Not as involved as this, but they were sort of close. It's us, as well as my in-laws, sister-in-law and her family. The people closest to Kelsey's age will be me and my sister-in-law, who is 35. And now for the update. I'm going to make this short and updating because of all the messages I got asking me for one. Like I stated many times in my last post, many times, though a number of people were still attacking me as though I wanted to banish her from speaking to any of us. I thought Kelsey was a lovely girl and didn't want to completely cut her off, just establish appropriate boundaries. My mother-in-law found out my husband invited Kelsey. Normally this wouldn't be an issue since the house is large enough to accommodate several more people. And to be fair, this wouldn't be the first time someone invited someone on behalf of the family. But the issue was, my mother-in-law had been speaking to Brad, my brother-in-law, and trying to convince him to come, and he eventually caved and said he'd come. So, my mother-in-law flat out said Kelsey can't come. Why would she even want to? It would be too weird for her or Brad. So, my husband came home and told me all this, and then tells me conveniently that he's going to have to come to Belize a week later because of work, and that he'd meet me and the kids there. I'm not going to get into the details because it got really personal, but it wasn't hard to find out that was a lie, and that he was planning on hanging out with Kelsey those days. This lie was the last straw, so I asked to see his phone. I looked through all of his messages on socials, and I found a number of flirty texts with Kelsey, as well as some photos that weren't naked or anything, but definitely suggestive. He said he hadn't realized how quickly things got out of hand, and that he never would have physically cheated. I don't believe that he hasn't already. I'm not really one for second chances, so I can't see this going much further, although I'm not making any permanently rash decisions until I've had time to clear my head and get everything in order. I love how he thought inviting his side piece on a family trip would just go swimmingly. Oh, she can't come, I suddenly need to work that first week. No one will ever know. Your husband and his brother are from the same cloth. Part of me wonders if Kelsey isn't deliberately trying to get back at Brad by getting involved with his brother, but the husband seems to be all too willing. All this seems to be happening really fast. I hate that Kelsey inflicted on OP exactly the same trauma she faced. Like, yeah sure, the brothers are trash, but she is such a hypocrite. Yes, this is one of the rare instances where I find the other woman as despicable as the cheating dude. Normally, I err on the side of, don't blame the other woman who may or may not have known. Blame your craphead husband. But in this case, I say throw both of them straight in the garbage. The fact that this 37-year-old married man is even flirting with a 24-year-old is icky, and 2, the fact that 24-year-old is his little brother's very recent ex-girlfriend of 10 years is just beyond all icky comprehension. He's known her since she was 14 and he was 27. I'm sorry, that's just gross. And he tried to so obviously lie in order to skip out on a family vacation for a week just to supposedly sit next to her. He's either dumb as rocks or just really doesn't care about his marriage or relationship with his brother, or anything other than his own junk really. Your husband sounds immature and downright creepy. I'm sorry that you're even having to go through this, as you sound very mature and kind-hearted, but you'd be better off without someone like this in your life.